Hi, everyone. I'm Allison Ramsey with Empire Life Podcast, and we're here today with Bridget, formerly known as Bree, and Bjorn, and we're going to be talking with them today. First of all, we're going to be doing a quick sample of a sound healing and grounding meditation, and then we're going to dive into how they're benefiting their clients with relationship and transformational coach shifts and healing within that space. And we're here to talk also about how entrepreneurs are growing their online empires, how they are expanding and growing, reaching more and more clients. And we help entrepreneurs online do that and also launch live events. So we're going to dive right in and get started with the grounding and sound healing meditation shortly, and then we'll be diving into the interview.
Great, thank you.
Awesome.
We have some cars driving past, but the windows and doors are open, so maybe you don't hear them so much. And we'll just start with a gentle little session here that is a sample of what we normally do for group meetings, individual meetings, and sound and cacao healing sessions. Yeah. So I would love to invite everybody, if you feel comfortable in this, safe, to close your eyes. And just begin by taking some very gentle and deep breaths. And as these breaths move into your body, just feel the air as it moves in through your nose, down your throat, into your lungs, perhaps all the way down to your belly. And as it moves back out through the same channel it came in. Rest here for a few moments, feeling this breath, moving in and out of your body. Perhaps you can become aware of the places in your body where the breath is affecting the vibration, the tension, bringing ease, bringing energy. And as you continue breathing softly and sweetly, I invite you to step into, if you can imagine, the very center of your heart space. It's a little space in the very center of your heart, in the center of your chest. Find yourself getting so tiny in physical form that you can fit to the inside of your heart space. And while you're there, I invite you to take a little look around with your eyes closed. Feeling your breath, perhaps you can see color around you or feel texture. Maybe there's a scent in the air, memory of home, of childhood, or wisdom of the future. Maybe there's even a taste there, something that you can taste in this space. I invite you to feel the protection you have here in this space, the energy and the expandability. And as you bring your breath in, collect energy in the center of your heart. And as you release that breath, I invite you to expand that spaciousness around you. Expanding the space with each out-breath. Increasing the energy with each in-breath and expanding the space again. Beyond the borders of your heart. Beyond the borders of your body. Expand that heart space beyond the borders of your room or your house. And feel the sweetness of this expansion, your infinite potential, moving out into space, out into the earth. Feel the muscles in your body relaxing. Feel the connection of your muscles to your bones, to your organs. And as you breathe in, imagine you're breathing in crystal clear, prismatic light. And filling your physical body with this light. And now as you breathe out, you expand this light beyond the borders of your house, your town, world. Feel the sweetness here. Become very present with this moment, right here, right now. And with 3 beautiful deep breaths, I invite you to just be coming back into your body right now, into more awareness of your surroundings. And after your 3rd deep breath, filling your lungs with air, filling your body with energy and softness, begin to soften up. And when you're ready, open your eyes and come back into this space. Join us here on the screen. All together here.
Thank you. That was incredible.
Thank you. It seemed to be the high traffic rush hour just as soon as we started.
It's always, when you want to meditate, it's always high traffic hours. It's
Wow.
the stuff comes up. Beautiful reflection.
That is beautiful. And I also wanted to mention to our tribe that I met Bjorn in Italy at Unconventional Life at the Entrepreneurship Conference, and it was unbelievable. I had such an amazing experience personally with the sound healing cacao ceremony that he led, and I'm looking forward to meet you as well, Bridget, in person. And I feel like I know you already from everything online.
Yeah, me too.
So I want to dive right in and discuss a little bit about how you guys are guiding clients through these transformational shifts and relationship shifts, and like how do you go about with your clients guiding them to better personal relationships if they have a loving relationship, or if they're single and they're wanting a loving relationship? What are some of the beginning steps that you guys go about doing that?
So first of all, in a relationship, what we realize, and we've practiced for many years, we've been married for over 20 years, so we had plenty of practice and experiences how to not lead a fulfilled relationship, and through going into that and feeling into it and working through it, into like, oh, what does it take to live a full-on, intimate, beautiful relationship every day, choose it every day. And the bottom line is, without having an amazing relationship with yourself, you cannot be in an amazing relationship with anybody else. Maybe, if you pretend and you hide and you play around, you can maintain it for a short little while, but it will not be lasting. Sooner or later, the lies come up. Yeah. So authenticity is the main practice, transparency, and vulnerability and honesty are like the staples for a wonderful and meaningful and deep relationship with yourself, which then will be reflected and also attracts an amazing relationship on the outside.
And I would add, you put radical before each of those words, because it's a pretty radical movement when you're radically authentic or radically in integrity. These things, it means really to the deepest core of who we are, showing up and coming. That's a good idea. Coming into the space with yourself first, discovering who you are, and then allowing every morsel of you, every sparkly, glittery light of you to come forward and become a part of your expression. And upon being able to do this, you are able to allow other people to show up the same way. So we're no longer playing a game of competition and blame, and we're kind of holding each other in the energy of, I'm going to show up and you're going to show up, and we're going to come together in this space radically, honestly, radically, fully, and create a whole new story about relationship that is not that is not about sacrifice and compromise, but about full expression and connection.
So in the first place, it is more about undoing rather than building something. The main work and the first work that we do is getting people from a place where they think they know what they're doing to a place where they don't think or assume or or expect that whatever society was telling them and however they were brought up is in any way relevant to a relationship with themselves or with others. So back to zero. And then you can start building something beautiful on a real foundation.
Everything is up for reinvention.
Yeah, kind of like how kids are born when there's toddlers. They're just fresh, and they're coming into the world loving and supporting. And when they're in a really and clean and supportive environment, of course, they're expressing and reflecting that back. So amazing. And I thought as you guys were speaking, I was also thinking about how when some people have gone through very traumatic, and we didn't actually talk about this before, but this came up for me. When people have gone through very traumatic experiences, will you also consider that part of their glitter and part of their light that they're bringing to the experience? And how do they make themselves vulnerable and just completely showing up and saying, look, this is what happened to me. How you want to judge it is how you want to judge it, but they're completely comfortable in that experience. What will be your advice for that?
I'll jump in there.
That's a very good question.
That's a really great question. There's a lot that we could talk about that even starts before we get into this conversation. But I think we all come here to experience what we experience, and we come with our dark and our light. And I hope I answer this question.
Well, that's perfect.
Into the space of really showing up. What that also means is being able to be, when it's time, be in that space of that trauma and be so fully in it that it eventually it integrates. It becomes no longer a trauma part within you, but it blends into all of you and becomes integrated into you, who you are. So it no longer is its own story of trauma. This is part of the healing process. I think it's about presence, coming into presence, sitting with what is, being in it until that bundle of shit, that bundle of darkness, which is going, look at me, look at me, look at me, don't push me down. It finally has the opportunity to be acknowledged, observed, seen, and felt. And when it does, this hardness just goes, and it just moves throughout your body, and it becomes a part of the love sparkle state that you are. Through this, stories can change. Stories can change, and when stories can change, realities change. And I think through this, we can rewrite our history too. At some point, we can have no trauma. We can be to the point where that's an old story from somebody else, and now we are these full beings who are having an experience. Did that answer you?
Yes, that's really incredible. And it might be painful going through that healing process. There's probably going to be a lot of tears, a lot of other feelings that come up. Though at the end of it, at the light at the end of the tunnel, it's going to be rephrased or redone within yourself. And I also feel from personal experience, when you have gone through that, maybe before when you were talking about it to people, they have a different reaction than at the end of it after you've gone through the healing journey. They usually have a similar reaction to how you are reflecting it within yourself. And they'll say, how do you guys feel about that? You guys experience that?
Absolutely, every moment of every day. Trauma or no trauma.
Yeah, stuff always comes up, I don't even feel like you're ever done with, there's so much trauma, if you want to label it as that, I look at it more as like stuff to do here while we're on this planet. Like it's
exploration.
Exploration. It is life in its full spectrum, and I really deeply appreciate also my tears and my pain. It is beautiful to embrace all of that, to make it an experience, a life that shows me that I'm alive, and I love life. And that is one. If I go into resistance and fear of like, I don't want to feel this, I don't want to look at this. That is what is really so painful. The actual trauma is mostly like that. Then once you decide I'm going through this, it's not even that bad.
It can still be
painful, but the resistance is like what makes it so hard. And that's what's freaky. That's a new invention of a word. I like that. Between frequency and freaky. The frequency of freaky.
T-shirt.
New T-shirt idea here. Whoever wants to jump on that. Yeah. So that's part of what we're doing, is like introducing clients to the idea, paired with practices that you don't run away or resist your fear. You go into it, but in a safe place. And that is where I see my main work, or our main work, is to create this beautiful container. And really, I experience, I'm actually like, not who's I, huh? But Bjorn, the character Bjorn here on this plane, he sort of disappears, He's a cool guy, but at that point, he's not necessary anymore, because he's gonna want something, he's gonna expect something, he's gonna want to push here and like slow it down here. And this guy just disappears. And I just turn into presence. And while I'm doing this, I expand so much, and I'm actually creating like a beautiful golden vessel that is absolutely super, super safe and loving and holding and supporting. And that's where the client then can step into whatever is holding them back, any kind of trauma or fear. And this is not necessarily, the gaining of trust is that's kind of like the time consuming part sometimes. But once they feel that, they're really like, oh my God, this is for real. This is super safe. Stuff comes up. It's unbelievable. So much truth, so much wisdom, so many insights, so much healing and releasing and transformation is happening. It's incredible. So this is the core and the center of the work that we are doing.
I would say that it feels like, for many people, perhaps the first time falling into the arms of your unconditionally loving mother. Like, for the first time, there's unconditional love. There's this space where people come in and go, whoa, I've never felt this before. And that's when, like, through a grounding in, then opening up space, things, traumas, whatever, traumas, events, memories, feelings, they all start to bubble up. And as they bubble up, they just become a part of this person. And through this, they're actually allowing it to exist. And through this, then releasing or integrating.
And as you were saying, that is a lot easier to go through than to keep it hidden and bottled up all your life.
Totally, because it will always surface and circle and surface again and show up in different life situations, but it's the same thing. It's not going to go away until you
never be free until you let yourself sit in it. Yeah.
Yes, and for me personally, I feel like it almost takes a level of saying, I've had enough. I'm going to be rebellious. I'm going to confront this, or I'm going to meet this face to face. I'm no longer, there's no way I can ignore this. There's no way I can keep this hidden. I'm going to be vulnerable, and like making that decision. And I have been feeling like that from a young age, though I understand. And some people are like, well, why you always talk about your feelings, or you're talking about your feelings. So, and I explain to them, it's easier to talk about it right now than to let it build up over, and then later I have resentment, or the feeling is deeper when it didn't need to be. that didn't need to go that far and can just be released right now, and we can have a chat about it, or I can let you know where I'm coming from. And I've noticed that can be very challenging for a lot of people to confront it or to meet it head on. That it can feel a little bit rebellious, or a little bit like, well, I don't know if people want to hear about how I feel. I feel a little bit, they can put different labels on it. I may be causing too much attention or causing a scene. And what is your guys' reaction to that?
I think this is what we're trained from birth, for sure, in this culture and many other cultures. It's
Yes.
about codependency and enabling. So what we're really trying to do is not create suffering for anyone else, because we have an idea that this will create suffering. Rather than showing up and saying, this is what's coming from me, I'll try to protect someone else. And that's really, it's really an excuse to not go into the pain. It's an excuse to not go into the fear. And so many of us will avoid it for a lifetime, actually bringing discomfort into a situation in a relationship, because the idea is, oh, I don't want to bother them with that. But really it's, I don't want to bother myself with that. And therefore I will remain enslaved, perhaps in my golden cage forever, because I refuse to actually just show up. Because we're not showing up. We might say, well, I'm showing up, I'm taking care of all the people around me. I'm not speaking my truth. But really showing up is really, it doesn't mean attaching to the trauma or the drama. It means moving into it, embracing it, moving through it, and then coming out on the other side. And yeah.
That is so juicy. Love it.
Yeah.
And I wanted to touch on, if you guys will love to share a little bit about your personal experiences with the relationships with yourself, with the relationship with yourself and with others, or with each other, and some challenges that you have overcame, and maybe some tips on daily tips and routines that people can move into when they want to overcome triggers or overcome certain relationship challenges.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that can easily fill a few days. No, you have a few days. The bottom line is, like whatever we are bringing into our coaching sessions or into our retreats or workshops is deeply, deeply experienced. So, like fully embodied understanding. If I don't know experientially, I will not talk about it. So yeah, I'm going through a lot of transformation. There's just about everything is always up for grabs for me. And I'm thinking of maybe a major transformation or transformational moment
Between us.
Yeah. I think
they exist all the time. I mean, just this past week, it's not so often that we go into these spaces where we can't communicate with each other. We're so not lined up with each other that he says pickles and I'm hearing space dogs, or it's not so often that happens, but it happened last week, and it was for a week that we were just not really able to communicate, and it was really frustrating for both of us, I think. And trigger
like nonstop.
Yeah.
Until you look, until you actually look.
Yeah. And finally, a few days ago, we were coming home from the mountain, a little hike, and I started to talk about what was going on and how I was feeling, and then I got out of my feeling and more into my head, and then back into feeling, and went back and forth, and through that conversation, as Bjorn said, what's really happening? What's really going on? And I just realized, oh, I'm scared. I'm afraid that this action, or our inability for 4 days in a row to connect, means something bigger. I'm afraid of that. I have this fear. And most of the time I don't have that. Most of the time we can't line up, and I'm really clear that this is just we'll come back together in a few hours. But after a few days, it became this bigger fear, which then is related to something from my past, which is related to I'm not even sure yet. I haven't worked that. I haven't really discovered it, and it ultimately may not matter, but there is an energy there that sometimes comes up for me as fear. And then we're triggering each other and something else comes up for him. And once I said, oh, I'm feeling scared, and I cried, then whoosh, like we came back together. Like, oh, hi. By that was in the afternoon, and then it was softer, and by the next day it was like we're on again. We're really together and on again. So that's not so specific, but we always have events, and it's always these little things that come up for us that have something to do with an experience that we have bought as truth for us.
Wow.
If this happens, then this means this, and I'm afraid of that. So
try to avoid discomfort.
Yeah.
That's a great example. I remember, I just feel like maybe a practical advice. I mean, this is a practical advice in terms of always pay attention if you're triggered, if something pisses you off in your partner or like pushes all your buttons, to not just like yell at your partner or run away stampeding. You can do that also, but then take a moment and just sit with that feeling, because usually all these trigger moments are just unresolved emotions that are stuck within you, and they don't even have anything to do with your partner. And that's always where I'm coming from. It's like, oh, this is not about me, or this is not about her. So, and then sit with, and when I'm said sit with, just like say, hey, I need 15 minutes, and then you just go in your room, you close your eyes, and you just sit, really seriously, just sit there and see what, or not see whatever, however it reveals to you, feel what comes up, what shows up, because usually something does show up if you just sit there with closed eyes with that feeling present of, I can't believe that just happened, and then you just don't give any voice to it, you don't direct it or blame anyone for it, but you just taken this feeling that almost is killing you at the moment, so it's very difficult work, you're taking it with you, and you just sit there and watch it with curiosity, and like, okay, so what's happening? Like,
letting go of the thought, the story part of it, because that's like
up.
you said, the story part, that like, he did this and this happened. The energy is what you sit with, but the words you let go. You just let that story go. And okay, why? Not even why, but feeling that constriction, that tightness, and just feeling it. Actually feeling it, not asking why, not trying to find out how to get rid of it, but just feeling it. And at some point, usually letting go of the story, something comes, a memory, and you go, oh, holy shit. Before this thing happened, it may not even be so clear, but you, at some point, it's like the dam is here, and you're just like up against the dam, the water pressure is just pushing, and all of a sudden the dam just goes, and the water goes over the top. It takes longer sometimes it takes a few minutes.
And this is an 8-week coaching class here in like 2 minutes.
Right.
You don't get it all, but that's sort of the essence. Another beautiful tool that I want to offer right now is like, we were living in Peru at the time being, and I was somewhere in some kind of eco project in the desert, and I was out in the shala and doing some yoga, and it was getting dark, and I was moving back towards the community quarters and where Bree and the kids were, and suddenly I realized that I could also not walk back there, that I could choose at that moment to not walk back. And with that realization, I realized that every moment I have that choice of not walking back. In other words, back to my family, to what I chose once. I said, like, we got married, not everyone does it, but we did, and it doesn't even matter if you do or not. But we said, yeah, we'll spend the rest of our lives together. And then you could just leave it with that. But at that moment, I realized it's not about committing once and then sticking with it, no matter what happens, no matter how awful it is and uninspiring. But that realization that I could walk away from this at any moment, there is also, positively said, a choice every moment to be with it. And with that conscious choice in every moment to be with your partner, family, whatever, and that you actually want to go back there because you love your partner, there's so much empowerment. And in that moment, I also realized that I'm never walking back to the same person.
Ever.
Like, just no situation is the same situation. You can never repeat anything in your life. Your head tells you that, but you can't. And with that, like choosing your relationship every moment. And if you realize I don't want to choose it anymore, then go and say, hey, actually, I realized I don't want to choose this relationship anymore the way it plays out right now. Is there anything we can do? What do you feel? Put that shit on the table, talk about it,
I want to choose.
And then maybe out of that comes like, oh yeah, I had the same feeling. And then you realize, oh, this is what's been going on. And you can come back together consciously. Or you can say, actually, over the last X days, months, years, we have developed in very different directions. We actually choose to not be with each other anymore because it's not fruitful anymore. It doesn't serve us anymore. Yeah. And then just shake hands or give a warm hug and say, I love you, but this is not our relationship anymore. Consciously uncoupling, which is just as important as consciously coming together. So just that on the side, like just that awareness, you're choosing this life actually, but for relationship, every moment you're choosing it. You could walk away from it. Powerful.
It's very powerful. Yeah. With the conscious uncoupling, there's no need, or something I see in a lot of, and outside is the high rates of divorce and ending, like completely wanting to ruin the other person. And I personally had a very peaceful divorce, and it was a very conscious uncoupling. So I completely resonate with what you're saying, and there's no need to ruin somebody else's life. Like you love this person before, or you still love them in their entirety. Like you're unconsciously uncoupling. I mean, consciously uncoupling. And
creating words now too. It's contagious. Let's do it. Let's go there.
and there's no reason to ruin each other's lives when you are consciously coupling as well, as like you were touching on. There's no need to have that suffering. It's better to put it all out on the table, consciously couple the best way that you can both meet. And I wanted to also touch on what you feel are some gold nuggets that people can take away, that they can do perhaps every day to reground themselves or to come back to themselves to improve their personal relationships.
Which one do you choose?
I think what we were talking about, that's already like super gold nuggets. But meditation in general, just take your space. Like if you're permanently together or stressed on some kind of level, run to your job, work that job, come back, grab some food, and sit in front of the TV set. There's choose 10, 15 minutes for yourself, just whatever feeling in, and choose it. And that's all, at least, you can do that a bunch more too, except I don't recommend like meditating all day long. Why would you do that, But like connect with yourself 10, 15 minutes so you feel aligned, and definitely make the time to connect with your partner 10, 15 minutes at least also.
And I would love to add that for people who haven't done any meditation, what could be a really good way to start this is to just take time. It's a different kind. It's like a life-gazing presence meditation. Bjorn just wrote something about this morning, but taking even 3 minutes outside, not even outside, it could be inside, but nature is really great. And go stand with your feet on the earth and feel your feet touching the earth, and look at the dew on the grass, and look at the sparkles and the shape of the dew and how it holds its form, and just be so present with what is right around you, what natural things are happening, all of the little tiny miracles, watching the bees buzz past and listening to the crickets and the frogs, and just take 3 minutes to really stop thinking about anything. Let the thoughts go, and just observe all the amazingness around, amazing skin that you have on your body, or even, just to feel your own body and say, well, this is the body I'm in, that just to become aware. And the more we do this, then the more we can step into a more kind of internal, quiet kind of meditation that can take us even deeper, maybe.
That's perfect. I hear a commonality coming up as you guys are talking about spending time with your partner, making that, as you were saying, making that 15 minutes with your partner. And then also how with your experience that Bjorn really held a container, held a space for you to work through what you were feeling in that experience of the story that you were telling. And how do you suggest, when people are not really used to doing that, they feel triggered and then the other person feels triggered, and how do they, even in those moments, really aim to hold a safe container for the other person and just say, hey, I just really want to know how you're feeling right now. I know you're upset with me, but can you just allow me, or this is some of my experience, I've had men telling me, can you just humor me, let me know, just try to explain one more time, please, how you're feeling, and really hold this safe space for me. How do you guys suggest that couples go about that?
I suggest they come see us.
Yeah, it's challenging.
That's quite an in-depth process. It doesn't have to take a long time, but a person has to be really committed to learning it. But it is about learning conscious communication. It is about learning presence. It is about learning integrity, learning really how to show up and say, I am fully responsible for my reality. So whatever is being reflected back to me has to do with me. It's never just outside of me. So there are so many layers here that could be worked on for weeks and months at a time, each layer, until you come to the point where you know how to say to your partner, it's not even about, I totally appreciate that little example, but it's not even about tell me again how you're feeling so I can understand, but it's learning how to hold space, learning how to let be what is and not try to fix it or adjust it or tweak it, and learning how to be in it together, and then learning how to communicate also, and not necessarily in that order. It's very, very many parts. So
I don't think there's a one word solution.
consciousness is many facets and layers.
Otherwise we all, if there was one word solution for this thing, we wouldn't have any unhappy relationships. There's people that say they have a one word solution, or they have whatever, they're awful, but it's never working, So if you really want it to work, you have to show commitment and show up for it, and really be open for it, and be curious and
practice,
show up, and then you can live the most amazing relationship with yourself and your partner. But without that commitment, there's not just the one thing and everything shifts and falls into place. I don't know about it anyways. The one thing, when things get really hot and crazy, the one advice that I would have is close your eyes and breathe.
Take a little space, whatever that means, closing your eyes and breathing, or saying, I just need a little space right now. And go take a few minutes or a walk, That's really important, because we don't get anywhere when we keep trying to figure it out. Ultimately what we're really working on, while this is an important tool, most of us are very intellectual and very stuck in the processing and the figuring. And what we're really working on is learning for now to kind of drop this and move into the heart space, because this is where the feeling is. This is where we know everything there is to know. And eventually we come back to a balance where we're mostly living in our heart space, but we can access what we need to here. And it becomes less and less that we need to access here. So this is often when we're arguing, we're here. And we're like, I want this to look a certain way, instead of, this is what this feels like. And this is you and this is me coming together and feeling like this. What is this, you know?
Yes, that's so true. And also understanding this is me, and it may not be exactly how you feel, how you feel feelings. I may have a different way of how I go about communicating or feeling my feelings and than you, and that's okay. And we're both communicating, we're both trying or aiming to communicate in an authentic and conscious way, though that may look a little different. I
Yeah,
feel like that's really hard for a lot of relationships.
I think it's mainly like through that communication, we reach connection. And that's really what we're trying to do. We want to connect again. We want to feel the thread between us and know that we're both, I mean, that's one thing for sure. And yeah, oh, I just lost track of that other part. It was about the first thing that you said. Oh, that we actually, I will never understand fully what anybody else ever means. Ever. I mean, none of us communicate in the same way. None of us perceive in the same way. None of us express in the same way. We're all having our own history, our own stories, our own experiences, our perceptions that bring us to this moment. So to even try to understand somebody as they're expressing it is virtually impossible. So the idea, again, is really opening up to feeling and allowing that person to be and allowing yourself to be, and then connecting and learning that the expectations we have about how we and each other should show up, they're all bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about how we should show up. It's about who are we and what's right now. And that's all there is. Period.
That's fantastic. Do you guys have anything you would like to close out with? Any last nuggets or last thoughts or last feelings?
It's super exciting work. It's play work. Sometimes it's real, like elbows in the mud kind of work, and but mostly it's so intriguing and beautiful. I mean, more and more we've come to the place where we see that everything is a gift, and that's a beautiful place to be, where like some trigger comes up and you're like, oh, okay, and something's coming through this. So I don't have to get impatient or freaked out most of the time, you know, because we're coming to something together. It's a fractal form, kind of. We're moving to the tight spot and just about ready to go open into space again. So it's a super inspired, fun game to play. I want to play more with more people. I'm really happy and dedicated to sharing what I know with people, because if everybody had a relationship like we have, everyone would be pretty happy most of the time. We'd have a different world.
Yes. Bjorn, will you like to share anything before we hop off?
Yeah, I feel like we said a lot. That's a lot of information. Again, like I want to encourage everybody to like go on the quest and find out what your gift is, and then bring that into your life and wherever you can. Hopefully, 100%. And then your life is so exciting and inspiring that that other people don't even have that choice, but like be contaminated by it, you know, by the joy of life. And before you know it, like the whole world is full of like excited, like totally purposeful, on track people bringing their gifts in the world with wide open hearts.
Yeah.
You know, like, and then whatever, you know, you don't ever have to see the news anymore with bombs exploding anywhere, and see the news with people hugging each other and doing eye gazing on the street.
Yes.
That's what I see.
That would be amazing. And sharing their gift and stepping into their power. For me, I feel like that's my real gift, is showing people how to step into their power. And it's totally cohesive and concurrent with what you guys are doing. Like,
Awesome.
amazing.
I have a question for you, Allison. Is this a time that we could mention what we're doing, and that
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay, so Bjorn and I both are doing individual coaching sessions, 8-week sessions, 4-week sessions, all kinds of things are available. And we're working with anybody who is just ready to like bust through this little prison, these walls, and into infinite, the living beyond. And we're putting together a retreat for late October, early November that's going to be living beyond.
Boulder, Colorado.
Probably in Boulder, in this area, and it's going to be full-on immersion, just living in flow.
When is the date again?
We don't have the set dates yet, but it's the end of October or early November.
Okay, we'll most likely be there too.
Awesome, yeah.
Great. It's going to be fantastic. It's very connective and living in presence, like just immersion in living in presence and intuition. What comes up now, and playing together and deeply connecting and learning more about how to be in exquisite and passionate and joyful, beautiful relationship with your partner or with yourself or with your body or with your purpose in the world. So I'm also, by the time this airs, I guess my program will be started, but I'm doing more. I'm doing some 8-week workshops with women for empowerment and freedom and coming into your full purpose with radiance and inspiration. Anything else? And
beautiful. We all also host a cacao, like sacred cacao or cosmic cacao, out of this world and sacred sound ceremonies here in Boulder on a weekly basis within the area. Please come check it out. Sundays 4 to 7. And we also love to travel in the world, in the States, and share our gifts. So if you can hire us for that too. We'll come and do a sound ceremony, cacao and sound ceremony at your place or in your city if you want to. We can just shoot me a mail and we'll get that going.
Can you tell I want to say more?
Say.
We're also we're creating this group. There's already a group, but we want to create World Tribe hubs around the world. So this is something that's really part of our biggest passion right now, is creating community, World Tribe Conscious Community Timeshare. So a way that people can be out in the world and connect in with conscious community, where conscious communication is happening and relating games, and people really learning how to be together in community relationships. So this is something else. So if anyone wants to contact us and just be in touch or be watching what we're doing, just get us on Facebook.
I love that.
Bree Lamers, Bjorn Leonards, and there we can connect, and we have links where we can connect for getting on phone calls and talking about what we're offering, and we're super excited to do it.
That is awesome. Yeah, we're doing our first live event in Buenos Aires. It was going to be in January. We've moved it to the summer of 2018 coming up. And we want to talk with you guys more too about being there.
Yeah. It sounds super exciting too what you're doing. This sounds like a great
oh, thank you. Yeah, like really helping the entrepreneurs step into their power online, and then that's what we're doing. And then also, of course, in your personal life. And we need amazing speakers and facilitators to really show them how to step into their power in the interpersonal relationships too, or with the relationship with themselves. Right?
Mm-hmm. Such good work, learning how powerful we are and learning how to consciously navigate and create our every moment, our bliss lives.
So true. And I will also put the links, if you want to send them to me, I'll put the links in when we broadcast live. We're live broadcasting for your programs, and just let me know what I need to put.
Great. Thank you.
For everyone. And it was such a pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity.
Totally.
Thank you, Allison.
Thank you.
Really did spend a little time with you in the tribe.
Yes. Okay.
Much love to everybody.
Yeah. Thanks.